Hi everyone, Kendra from KdotCreate here to show you guys how you can go ahead and make your own do-it-yourself wooden sign. In your kits, you got these materials in this stack here, and we're going to show you how you can make a sign similar to the one here. So in your kits, you got a couple of different things. So first off, you have your stencil here. Your stencil is laminated with a transfer tape material, and that's going to enable us to pull off our stencil from the backing. Okay, so this is on a backing. The blue part is your stencil, and we're going to use this clear tape to transfer it from here onto your wood. So the other things you got in your kit where you got paint. Okay, so our paint is in these, and it might not look like very much paint, but we really don't need that much to do our signs. Usually less is more. Less paint's going to lead to less bleed through on these, and that's definitely what we want. We want nice crisp lines. So in your kit, for every paint color that you have, you got a 1-inch foam brush. I like to have the tip on them so that way I can get into small spaces. Some people would rather have it be more blunt at the end, so if you have really big spaces to cover on your sign, you can always take a scissors and you can cut this off so that way you have a blunt area. So I'll show you that. So we just take our scissors and we cut right along it, and so now I have this nice blunt edge here, and that's going to allow me to cover a lot of space while I go through it. Okay, so totally up to you what you would like to have with that, but I send them to you this way so you have that option. Then you have your paint. You can just take the lids off of these when we're ready for those. Most kits come with 3 colors, and then you can kind of mix and match them as you need to. And then we have our boards. You'll notice that on the back of the board you have a keyhole that has been routed into the back. This is where you'll hang. Make sure that this is towards the top when you put your stencil on. Okay, so my stencil will be at the top here. Okay, and I want to make sure that it faces this way. So let's go ahead and get our stencil ready. With our stencils, the first thing that we want to do is make sure that our clear transfer tape is pressed onto our blue stencil really well, especially in the areas that are going to be small that need to get picked up. So things like on the inside of our A and our E and our O, we really want to take our finger and push those down so that way they adhere really nicely to our stencil transfer tape. So take a moment to go ahead and rub it on so it's nice and stuck. You might notice that you have some air bubbles in here. Those are okay as long as that they're not over an area that we need to make sure the stencil picks up. So if it's in these big areas here, not really important. All right, so to go ahead and do this, we're actually gonna flip it over to the back side, and I'm gonna go to a corner and I'm gonna peel up a corner. So I'm gonna pull the paper back and press the blue paper down. When we do this, we wanna hold the blue stencil, okay, and then we're going to slowly peel back. Now the sharper your kind of arch that you have here, the less that your stencil is gonna get pulled up. So we can see that I was able to change this light so there's not so much glare for you guys. There we go. So I was able to keep this little portion of my stem down. Again, I just really pull this back. Now if something comes up, just push it back over, and then if it gets really stuck, you can come over and kind of use your nails to pull it back, or you could take something like a tweezers and kind of pull it down and then pull it back and just kind of work it back and forth. This process takes longer than you think it's going to, but the longer and slower that you take with this to really make sure that it comes up really well and as one piece, the better off your result's going to be. All right, so here you can see my stencil is getting stuck to the bottom. So I can either come back, I can use my tweezers a little bit here. And I wanted to show you guys this in real time just so you can see that, you know, I do this all the time and it's still not super easy. so you got that. And then you just kind of press it back down so that way it sticks. Pulling them back. Home stretch here. Make sure that E stays. And it did. Awesome. So I'm going to peel that back. I'm going to get rid of this. We're done with that. And now I have my stencil. This is the sticky side. Okay. I'm going to move this over. I'm going to take my board. Again, make sure that my part that I'm hanging it with stays at the top. So I'm going to make sure that stays up. So I'm just going to flip it over. Okay. And then your stencil is cut to be just about the same size as your board. That makes it really nice because then you can line up those edges. So we can make sure that they stay straight. And you can pull it up a couple of times while you do this. I like to get the top lined up and kind of let the rest of it come down. All right, so I think that looks pretty good. You're gonna start from the middle and you wanna push things out to the side, and you really just need your finger to do this. Now, if you want to use a credit card or your shopper's card from someplace to kind of smooth it out more, you can. You can buy tools to do it. Quite honestly, your fingers work just fine. I just rub in, get the bubbles out. Now you want it to stick pretty well here. It's important to go around things like the little parts in the E, the points that you have on different things. Okay, and then just kind of go around here. All right, so my stencil's on, but I can't paint it yet because I have this transfer tape over the top. So again, I'm gonna go to a corner, and I'll zoom in on this here for you. So I'm at the corner here, and now your corners probably aren't gonna stick real well at first, so I kind of pull it back. I'm going to hold my corner. You get a little bit of air bubbles, that's okay. Right. So I'm going to slowly pull it back. And if it comes up a little bit, we just push it back down again. The other corner. And again, just like with pulling the transfer tape off, or the backing off your stencil, it works really well if you keep this to be really crisp. All right, so on here, I'm just gonna go in and I'm gonna push down on my little pieces because I really want that to have a good sealer on the edges. That way my paint doesn't get underneath. If there's any spots in your board where there might be a knot or something, we really want to press down on those. So I'm just rubbing out any air bubbles, especially ones that are close to where I'm gonna paint. During this process, this is one where you do not want to use a credit card or a tongue depressor or anything here because that's going to get underneath these little parts. Okay, so fingers are definitely better. Okay, so we have our stencil in place, and now is time for the fun part. So we're going to go ahead and get our paint. I like to work from the top down and inside out. That way I'm right-handed, so I want to start from up here, get this done, all of this, and then here. I like to make sure that my colors on them. So in here I paired my green and green, my yellow went around, my yellow also came on the outside, and then I used the flamingo coral when I did this one. Today I'm going to use red, green. It's the red apple, the springtime green, and yellow. So I'm going to use today. It's important that your colors don't blend in too much. The lighting looks pretty good on here with the yellow, but in sunlight the yellow doesn't show up real good on this beechwood, so just be aware of that when you're picking your... Okay, time to paint. So I'm going to go ahead and open up my paints. Like I said, it looks like it might not be enough, but it's definitely enough for what we're going to do. Okay, so I'm going to kind of line them up. So I'm going to start with my green. My green's going to go on my melon. So I just dip in a little bit of paint. And it's better to go kind of up and down than it is to go side to side. And that's because we don't want to let our paint get underneath our stencil. I like to go up and down, and then I come back without a lot of paint and I kind of smooth it out. Make sure we get in the corners. Just be careful we don't get in any other places that we don't want. So I feel like this is pretty good paint coverage wise. So I like to have it have a uniform look on it. So I just very lightly pull my foam brush through so that way I don't have that speckled look. I like more of the brush stroke look, but it's totally up to you what you would like to have. So I have green in my melon here. I also want green in the word in a, and it's really close to this on my other things, so I have to be kind of careful here. Alright, so that's set. Okay, I'm going to do just gonna set my brushes on the old back part. The next thing I'm going to do is my word one and melon, and I'm going to do those in red so it looks just like the inside of a watermelon. Okay, so my one is here. So I'm going to go ahead and push through here. Kind of get all of those paintbrushes out. And I'm going to do my melon in red as well. So again, I'm just dragging my brush over the top. Be careful in this spot there. I'm going to go back over where I wrote one. I just want it to be a little bit darker. gonna pull that across, maybe down this time so I don't get too much paint piled up. There. Okay, so now I'm gonna go ahead and do my third color, which is my yellow. Also, can you guys notice how, like, I've used all of the green I need to use and I still have a ton left? So, I mean, use these paints on other projects. You've got them. But you really don't need that much at all to do any of this. So try not to get too much paint on your brush. You don't want to kind of, if it gets real globby, it can easily get pulled underneath your stencil, which is the last thing that you want. It's so disappointing when you pick it up and there's a bunch of like paint peeled off, although I have a way to fix it that I'll show you when we get to that point. But I don't know about you, this is so relaxing. Just a little bit of paint automatically helps me color in the lines, which is everything that I need in life. It's around the side. I'm just going to turn this so I can get better angles at these. We're almost done. It goes really fast. All right, looks pretty good to me. So again, I'm gonna try to pull out some of those air bubbles. One of my friends loves the look of the air bubbles in them, kind of that splotchy, I guess splotchy is not the right word, but just kind of bumpy look. So just personal preference. All right, so I have that set. So I'm gonna let this dry until it's kind of tacky. We don't want to pull up the stencil right this moment because with it being wet, sometimes when you pull it back, it will like splatter onto your other spots. So we're just gonna let it dry a little bit. So while that was drying, I went ahead and I cleaned out my brushes just in the sink with some water. It's really important to not let the paint dry on them, and that way you can reuse them. So my paint's pretty dry. There's a couple of wet spots on it, but I don't want it to get completely hard. So just like we have been, we're gonna start up in the corner and we're gonna try to get underneath it. I'm gonna pull it back. Kind of hold with one hand and pull with the other. If you have somebody else with you, sometimes it's helpful to have one person kind of hold the board, one person not. So there we go. So that's that one. Stick that in the trash. This part, it's helpful to have tweezers of some sort. So you just grab the tweezers from your bathroom. Other things that work really well are an X-Acto knife to pull up the pieces, a knife in general. I mean, you could use a steak knife as long as you wash it off when you're done so you don't get paint on it. I've seen people use box cutters, really just something to get underneath it. So I'm going to pull this off. And then come through here. And then we want to get in the middle of our letters, so in the O for 1. So after you get this done, you want to let it dry for a little bit. It dries pretty quickly. And then depending upon where you're putting it or what you want to do with it, you can seal it. We use, at the shop, we use a polyurethane. We use this. You can get spray polyurethanes. So something like this, water-based, and if you spray those on them or wipe those on, it'll make a really nice seal, and then it shouldn't fade, and if you put it outside, it's not going to get damaged at all from the elements and the rain and the snow, like if you're up here in Wisconsin. So it's really nice. We put them on all of our finish signs, and it's definitely a great option for you. All right, so this is done. You can see I have all my lines, my little embellishments. It reminds me of a piece of watermelon in summertime. Ooh, I forgot this little guy. Let's get him out of there. There we go. But just works really great, and got this all set to go in the back. So it just takes one nail in the wall, put that in, and you're all set. So I hope it brings you joy. I hope you have a really good time, and stick around, check out KdotCreate. We're on Etsy, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram. We have some more how-to videos up there shortly, and just more kits. And if there's anything custom you want, or you want us to make you a custom kit, just let us know, and we'll be happy to do it. So have a lovely rest of your day, and may it bring you joy.